PlayStation trophies, the epitome of going the extra mile for a game you love, forcing you to go far out of your way for some digital bling. But the real question is, how far is far enough? For some, it's games they truly love. For others, they may not platinum any games. Well, for me, it seems there is no limit to how far I'm willing to go. Not only have I gotten every Persona platinum for every game on PlayStation Network, but I've even done it in languages I don't understand. Why have I done this, you might ask? To be honest, I don't really know. I guess you could say it's been my own way of searching for the next challenge as I wait for Persona 6. What I do know though is that Persona is my favorite series of all time, and I don't regret doing it. So in this video, I want to go over all of the platinums in the Persona series, how I got them, how I felt about them, and things along those lines. I don't want to waste too much time, so let's go ahead and get started. And if you end up enjoying this video, please consider dropping a like and a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. For this video, we'll be going through each entry in the series in order, so Persona 3 through Persona 5. And to kick things off is the newly released Persona 3 Reload, and I absolutely loved this game and going for its platinum. For me, Reload is definitely my preferred way of experiencing the Persona 3 storyline, and I loved everything they added to it. The story was improved, the UI was improved, the pacing was helped, they actually added things for you to do at night in the hangout events, and in general, I just had a complete blast with it. Persona 3 is one of those games where no matter how many times I play it, there is a great chance I'll probably cry at least once. It might be at the end, it might be on a certain important date of the game, but regardless of when it is, it's probably gonna happen. It's like trying to avoid sneezing when someone puts an entire thing of pepper right into your nostrils. It's probably just not gonna happen. This video is about trophies though, and the trophy list itself is actually pretty simple. The hardest trophy being the A Legacy of Friendships trophy, which asks you to max all of the social links. But as long as you have good time management, it isn't too bad. With that said though, I did actually mess up this trophy on my first playthrough, so I needed to do another one. But since I love the game so much, I honestly didn't even mind. I mean, I've put about 250 hours into this game since it came out, so you know. Something I would have liked to have seen added to the trophy list though, is a trophy for completing all of the linked episodes, or for fully completing the compendium. I think these two things are such an integral part of the game, and the fact there wasn't a trophy for it is a bit bizarre to me, to be honest. It would have added that extra bit of challenge toward the time management to max everything in a single playthrough, and since you need to max the linked episodes to max the compendium, they would have gone hand in hand as well. Other than that though, the trophy list was fun. It incentivizes you to do most of what the game offers, so for that, it's a pretty good list. With Persona 3 Reload covered, that leads me into its little brother, or little sister maybe in this case, which is Persona 3 Portable. Portable is pretty similar to Reload, but for this one you actually do need to complete the Persona Compendium. And my favorite trophy of all, you need to defeat one of the two super bosses, those being Elizabeth or Theodore. I love when the Persona games have a trophy for doing this because the super bosses are really fun to prepare for and fight, and having that extra incentive to do so is very welcome. For the Liz and Theodore fights, I like them more than almost any other super boss in the series because these two require a lot more thought to complete. In this one you can't use a persona that has Absorb, Nullify, or Reflect skills, so it restricts what you can use. Of course, if you have Orpheus Telos, which you can obtain after maxing all of the social links, this isn't really a big issue. Still though, these added restrictions make it an actually fun, intense fight, and I really enjoy doing it on my FemC playthrough. I remember when I was fighting Theodore for the first time, I kept forgetting which phase I was on because I was kind of tuned out focusing on something else, so trying to remember if I needed to use the Infinity Fusion spell to prevent the insta-kill Megidolaon made it even more interesting. Honestly though, if you come prepared, the fight isn't too bad, it just takes a long ass time. Now there's actually a fight even harder than that in Portable if you can believe it, and it's a fight that a lot of people seem to be unaware of, which is the Margaret fight. Margaret is the Persona 4 Velvet attendant, and I guess she just thought it would be fun to pull up and terrorize the Persona 3 protagonist. This fight though is way harder, but also way more fun than Liz or Theodore in my opinion. The team I used for this, which I think is the best team in the game, was Aigis, Akihiko, and Yukari. Of course, everyone is at level 99 with the best equipment, and even with this setup she was still cooking my shit. I think my attempt against her took an entire hour or something like that, and once I was done, I was just on my knees thanking God for it to be over. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Portable, I think the game does get overhated. Additions like FemC, which you can't get in any other version of the game, adds a lot of value to it, and it is kinda neat seeing the Persona 3 narrative be presented in a different lens, such as a visual novel style. On the topic of the trophies though, I think the trophy list was amazing because it was just hard enough that only really dedicated fans would feel the desire to go out of their way and get this one. If not for the fact it's just kind of difficult, but the sheer fact of how long it takes. I mean, you gotta beat the game twice, once on each protagonist, so that alone is gonna gatekeep most people. Overall, this one gets a big thumbs up for me, and I had a lot of fun doing this one. The final platinum in the Persona 3 family, at least on PlayStation, is Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, and all of the dancing games are extremely easy to get the platinum for. The hardest thing you'll have to do is play the game a lot to unlock all of the social events, and by a lot, I mean like 15 hours at the very most if you take your sweet time. On the Chinese version of this game, I got it done in less than 5 hours, so you know, about 20 or so times shorter than your average Persona experience. And for that reason, I don't even have too much to mention here. The only thing I'll say is that I think this game has a solid amount of good remixes, and as I always say, seeing the Persona 3 cast actually happy and enjoying themselves fills my heart with joy. So for that reason alone, this platinum was a lot of fun. Even though this platinum is extremely easy, I'll still say I enjoyed it because it does make you do basically everything in the game, and it's just a fun experience, so I can't complain. Now I finally get to talk about my all-time favorite Persona game here, which is Persona 4. For all of the flaws this game might have, I absolutely fucking love this game. And if you take a look at my shelf here, you might be able to tell where my bias lies for it from that alone. The music, the themes, the cast, I love almost everything about this game, and I'm looking forward to talking about it more in the analysis series after I finish everything with Persona 3, but that's a whole other topic. This trophy list is pretty similar to Portable in some ways, but a good bit harder. This one adds some extra requirements, like needing to read all of the books, which on paper doesn't sound hard, but trying to manage the time in this game is actually pretty damn tough. So finding the time to read these books is a pain in the ass, to be honest. And not only that, there are some books you have to accept hangout events from your social links to get, and if you don't do it, then bam, you just fucked yourself out of the trophy. Persona 4 Golden is known for one trophy in particular, and it's pretty infamous among the community, and that is none other than the Hardcore Rosette Fan Trophy, which asks you to hear 250 of Risei's Navigator lines. And if I'm being totally honest, this trophy is not that hard. Really, all you need to do is use all of your party members to a pretty basic degree. Just hit some weaknesses, have your weakness get hit, stuff like that. I think the reason people struggle with this trophy is because they just don't want to use the other party members. Which I get, because if I have to hear Teddy's bitch ass say Bearsona one too many times, I might just lose my damn mind. I will admit though, that this trophy can take quite a long time, and it's not a fun grind to do for the most part. You'll probably have to run through a good portion of the game's dungeons again and again to fight certain enemies to get hit with ailments, debuffs, and stuff like that. But me personally, I just love playing this game as it is, so doing it really didn't feel too bad. Even doing it in a language I couldn't understand, which, good God, that was a long grind for that version of the game, let me tell you. Besides that though, this game also has the trophy for maxing all of the social links, maxing the compendium, and it has a super boss trophy for defeating Margaret. And while Margaret herself isn't too hard of a fight, the conditions for fighting her are the most annoying because it requires you to complete 2 entire playthroughs, whereas most games only require 1 or like 1.5. To fight her, you gotta defeat the optional bosses at the end of each dungeon on a New Game Plus save file, max her social link, and then her fight will be available on the last day of the game. Since Yoshitsune is in this game, well, you can just make fish food out of her basically, because that boy is insanely broken in basically every Persona game he's ever been in as far as I can remember, so there isn't too much to talk about for her, but there is one trophy I want to talk about before we head into the next game, that being the Card Collector Trophy. And this fucking trophy is secretly my most hated trophy in the entire game and maybe the entire franchise to an extent. This trophy is just mindless grinding for the sake of making you do it. For this, you need to register 100 skill cards to Marie in the Velvet Room, which isn't hard to do, but it just takes forever. The only main way to get cards is to go to the Chagall Cafe and get a card from an equipped persona, which means you have to constantly buy and swap out new personas over and over and over and over again, and then spend weeks or months in-game getting the required amount of skill cards. It's just boring, tedious, and it takes no skill whatsoever. Easily my least favorite trophy in a mainline Persona game. Other than that though, I love this game and its trophy list. In my opinion, it's probably the hardest one to get done out of the mainline games, but that didn't lower my enjoyment of it at all. In fact, for me it made it a lot more fun. I just imagined myself doing a Rocky or Creed training montage, but instead of training for boxing, I'm just training to get some digital bling. This trophy list gets a big thumbs up from me as well, and I would do it all over again anytime. You might be thinking to yourself at this point, is there any game that this dude didn't like going for? Well, here we are, and I'm ready to rant. Persona 4 Arena's Platinum Trophy was genuinely the most miserable, garbage experience I've ever had going for a Platinum Trophy. And to the person who thought it would be a great idea to design one key mode in particular the way it is, then I sincerely hope you understand how much torture you put people like me through. The thing is, I actually love the arena games. I mean, I even played Ultimax competitively for a time, traveled to fighting game tournaments, and even outside of Persona 4 Arena, I have multiple characters in Street Fighter 6 at Master Rank. So I like to think I'm pretty decent at fighting games at least, and I still struggled with this Platinum. The annoying thing is that the majority of this trophy list really isn't even that bad, and I actually like the narrative of the game, but there are two key trophies in particular that took me years to get done, that being the Combo Crazy and C'est Magnifique trophies. The Combo Crazy trophy asks you to complete all of the combo challenges in the game, and this wasn't too bad for the most part since I'm used to doing combos, but if you're not someone who dabbles in fighting games much, then all I have to say is good luck, my friend, because there are 390 total combo challenges to do. There's 30 for each of the 13 characters, and some range from very easy to very difficult. I remember when I was doing one of Yukiko's combo challenges, I did some regrettable damage to my black DualSense, and its battle scars, it will hold forever. Controller still works though. Combo challenges are kind of self-explanatory in how they're hard though. I think most of you watching can see where I'm coming from. So let me introduce you to the absolute worst mode I have ever played in a fighting game. That being Persona 4 Arena's Score Attack mode you need to complete for the C'est Magnifique trophy. And all I gotta say is, fuck this trophy. For this trophy, you need to beat Score Attack with every character in the game. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, no. The problem is that every single one of the 13 characters you have to fight in this mode are on boss mode, which means they have way more health than you, do way more damage than you, and have more abilities than you. Narukami, for example, can do shit like this. Or do damage like this. Does that look fun to you? If you say yes, then get some help. Now you might think, well, if I lose, I can just retry the fight and brute force it, right? Nope. If you lose any one of the 13 fights, you have to restart the entire damn thing from the very first fight. And remember, you have to do this with every character in the game, and I haven't even mentioned the fact that the Elizabeth boss at the end has 50,000 health and can basically one-shot you off any hit. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that in pure concept sounds like complete bullshit, but actually doing it, well, let's just say I got mad more than a few times. A few hundred times. I did actually make a video going over this trophy in more detail, so I won't talk too much more about it, but if you do want to hear more about it, then feel free to check that one out. If not, then all you gotta know is that this Platinum was pure pain, I didn't have fun, and I wouldn't recommend it. Now, would I do it again? Maybe. Following Persona 4 Arena is its direct sequel, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, and this one basically asks you to do similar things, but in a much easier way. Instead of needing to complete every character's combo challenges in the game, it just asks you to complete a single character's combo trials, which is a lot more reasonable. Other than that, the only other trophy that might cause you some trouble is the trophy for completing 3 Golden Arena courses. Golden Arena is a new mode introduced into Ultimax, and it attempts to bring the JRPG elements from the actual Persona games, such as stats and skills, to the fighting game. It's honestly not too bad and it can be fun, but it's certainly not for me. This trophy actually got a lot harder in the PS4 remaster because they added more stages to the courses, and the enemies are a lot harder. On PS3, the amount of stages was cut in half, so that naturally made it easier and it took less time. Even with the increased time and difficulty though, it isn't too bad. I actually think this trophy list is solid because it's challenging, but if you're a fan of the game, then it's not so outrageously difficult that you need to sell your soul to Youdabout to complete it. If you want a bit of a challenging Persona Platinum, then I do actually recommend Ultimax for sure. I had a lot of fun with it, and I don't have much else to say other than that. In stark contrast to the arena games, we head into another dancing title, this one being Persona 4 Dancing All Night. This one is basically the exact same thing as Persona 3 Dancing, so I won't spend too much time here. But this game actually has my favorite remixes of the dancing games, and this is the only one to have an actual story attached to it. So if there's any game I recommend playing out of the trilogy, it's 100% this one. Since I recommended Persona 3 Dancing, and I like this game more, I obviously recommend this game as well. And we now arrive at what is technically still the most modern Persona entry to date, the beloved Persona 5. Well, mostly beloved because, you know, everyone has their opinions, but I digress. I really, truly love this game though, and every time I play it, I have an absolute blast. I might not prefer the themes of it as much as Persona 4 or Persona 3, but it's certainly just as much fun to play. The music, the story, the UI, the atmosphere, everything about this game is fantastic to me, and this is actually the very first platinum I ever got for the series. Just to clarify, I'm talking about the original Persona 5 here, not Royal, but we'll get there soon. The original Persona 5's trophy list is actually almost identical to Persona 4 Golden's. Read all the books, max all confidants, max the compendium, beat the secret boss, hear 250 navigator lines, catch the Cardian fish, complete the food challenge. All these things were in Golden. The main differences are just pretty small things or story related things because duh. With that said though, since I loved Golden's trophy list so much, it's no surprise that I love this one as well. When the game simply asks you to do everything it has to offer, I love it because I want to do everything the game has to offer anyway. So having a small boost of encouragement in the trophy system backing your desire to do it makes it feel more fun. It makes seeing the progress you're making a lot easier as well. Also similarly to Golden, Yoshitsune is in this game, so of course the secret boss just gets eviscerated as well, but it still requires a great deal of time to get everything set up, so it isn't like it doesn't require a semblance of effort in that regard. Since this was the first Persona game I ever took seriously, I had a lot of trouble initially with time management. I didn't know when to raise social stats or when to hang out with certain confidants, so this actually took me about 3 whole playthroughs to get fully done my first go around. My first run was a casual playthrough I did purely for story, then my second playthrough I tried to read all the books and do all of the requests, but I ended up missing a request from Mishima through the phone because I straight up forgot to read the message, so I ended up only getting the confidants done on this run. Finally though, on the 3rd run of the game, which is a 100-hour long JRPG might I remind you, I finally got everything done, and I had done it all without a guide. After this though, I vowed that after the initial blind runs, if necessary, my ass would be using a guide from then on because I was not going through that again. And I did just that for the Chinese and Korean versions of the game. Persona 5 isn't perfect, but damn if it isn't a great game with a great trophy list. So if you haven't ever played a Persona game by chance, I totally recommend this one. And I also recommend the Platinum Trophy for sure. A hell of a ride I had with my first entry to the Persona series. Now I'm not done talking about Persona 5, oh no, we got a bit more to go because this entry got a lot of mileage before they were done with it. In 2020, we got the re-release of Persona 5 called Persona 5 Royal. And holy shit, I can't thank this game enough for existing. Not just for the sole fact that I love it and it fixed a lot of the issues I had with the original, but it came out shortly after that thing had happened, so it really saved my mental state for a while. In a time where it felt like there was literally nothing good going on in the world or my life, this game was like a light in the darkness. And I'm seriously not exaggerating because that time period of my life was genuinely one of the most miserable times of my life for multiple reasons that I will not go into this video. But hey, maybe one day. The new content of this game, particularly Maruki and Kasumi, and the 3rd semester made this one of my favorite Persona games of all time easily. And I still think to this day that the 3rd semester is the best Persona has ever been. The only thing that was a bit of a downgrade from the original to this game was the trophy list. But here's the thing, they actually made up for this entirely. As you completed the palaces and subsequently earned the trophies for doing so, you were actually rewarded with tangible rewards. PlayStation or Atlas would send you codes for the Persona 5 Royal avatars and themes. And these themes they gave are easily the greatest themes on the entirety of the PlayStation 4 system in my opinion. And it makes me wish PS5 had themes so bad, but to be honest, that thing can barely get games as it is, so you know. Now why do I say this trophy list was a downgrade? Well, it's because it doesn't ask you to do anything even remotely challenging. The hardest trophy in this version of the game is to beat the Reaper, but with how broken you can get in this game, it's one of the easiest Reaper fights in the whole series besides Persona 3, since you can just Armageddon his ass in that game. But other than that, this game is as easy as it gets. So there's no trophy to max social links, no trophy to max the compendium, to beat the secret boss, nothing. It's by far the easiest Persona Platinum out of any mainline game by a mile. But with that said, I'd be an actual moron not to recommend the game and trophy list because it's just so fucking fun. And like I said, this game basically saved my ass for a while there, so I owe a lot to it honestly. Definitely recommend the game and the platinum. Now, a game I personally did not like very much is unfortunately Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. This game in comparison to the other two in the trilogy is such a downgrade to me because for one, I don't really like the remixes at all, but also if they had just waited a little bit, this game could have had the songs from Royal, and there's no Kasumi, who is probably the best dancer in the Phantom Thieves besides maybe Haru. It just felt really disappointing to me personally, but the game is still not bad. You still have the social events that give you some nice fan service and extra time with the cast, so even though I didn't care for the songs too much, there was at least something else I could enjoy from it. Not too much else to say that hasn't already been said with the other games, considering they all have the exact same list more or less. So I'll just say that even though I didn't like the game very much, I'd still recommend it and its platinum if you're a Persona 5 fan. Only 2 more games left to cover, both of which being more Persona 5 spin-offs, but thankfully these spin-offs are actually amazing, and the penultimate game on this list is none other than Persona 5 Strikers, or Persona 5 Scramble as it was called in Japan. This game is a Dynasty Warrior style game where there is a metric ton of enemies on screen at once, and you alongside the Phantom Thieves go across Japan clearing what are essentially Diet Palaces, and it's just an incredibly fun time in all honesty. The gameplay loop isn't too deep, but it's fun to turn your brain off, listen to the kick-ass music, and progress through the dungeons and story, and the story is actually pretty good. The trophy list isn't too bad either, it's quite fun actually. It asks you to complete all of the requests present in the game, max out all of your bond skills, max out the compendium, and again it more or less just asks you to see most of what the game has to offer, and you know I love that. The main thing I want to share in regards to my own experience with getting this platinum is the bond trophy I mentioned a moment ago. The method I used for this required me to rub feet for several hours straight. Yes, the method I used to grind the points is in the Osaka section of the game, and every time you rub this statue's feet, you're granted some points toward the bond level, and I just brute forced it all the way to level 99. Great time honestly, I just threw up some YouTube and kinda went to town. Really though, I don't have much more to say besides that for this game. I just genuinely enjoyed my time with it and I do recommend it. And by this point you can see I'm just recommending everything. I love this series a lot and it would take some true bullshit like Arena for me not to recommend it. And that trend does not end here as we move into the final game of the video, that being Persona 5 Tactica. And my god, this game is criminally underrated. Toshiro and Erina are some of the best characters ever introduced into Persona 5. The story was fucking awesome, the gameplay was actually way better than I thought it would be, the art style is adorable, the music was superb. I genuinely just love this game and I so desperately wish it wasn't overshadowed by the fact it was revealed alongside Persona 3 Reload of all games, because this game deserved so much better. I can't talk much about this without going into spoilers, but the topics and notes this game hits are probably some of the darkest yet incredibly well written ones in the entire series, at least in my opinion. And it fits with the overarching theme of Persona 5 at large, and that in itself makes it basically a perfect spin-off title in my eyes. To be fair, Strikers did do basically the same thing in the sense that the spin-off went with the themes, but to me this game actually accomplished what it was going for infinitely better. If you have not played it, I seriously encourage you to do so. I'm pretty sure you won't regret it. It is a shorter game on the side of about 20 hours, but those 20 hours are pure peak. I was seriously shocked by how much I was enjoying it as I was playing it, and I'm not afraid to admit I cried at the end of it. It's probably some of the most fun I've ever had playing a Persona game, to be honest, and if I ever made a list ranking all of the games, it would be pretty damn high, to be honest. As for the trophies, it asks you to do things like get max stars in all the levels, which includes things like winning within a certain amount of turns, winning with no casualties, and stuff like that. It also asks you to complete all of the side quests, and these side quests are so great, they have really fun moments between the cast. Other than that, it has stuff like maxing the compendium, which might I add, the compendium in this game is great, reaching max level, and things along those lines. It just asks you to do everything basically, and with how fucking awesome this game was from start to finish, I can't recommend it enough. Easily my favorite spin-off in the entire Persona series besides maybe the original Arena. With Persona 5 Tactica covered, that brings us to the end of the list. So what did we learn today? Well, we basically learned that I love all the games dearly in terms of their trophies besides the original Arena because god, that game harmed my mind in ways I don't think I'll ever recover from. Hopefully whenever Persona 6 comes out, we can get a trophy list just as great as some of the games we went over in this video today. But other than that, I've said all I want to say. I'd love to hear your stories regarding trophies, or just Persona in general, so please feel free to drop a comment. I tend to respond to all of them, and if you made it to the end of this video and enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing as well. It helps the channel out a lot, and I'll love you forever. With that said, it's been your boy Yandere Gogeta, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out and have a great day.
Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God.